It's quite clear that the pro-war propagandists are playing a game of percentages. They're counting on the fact that the clear heads who can immediately recognize their transparent fraud are still outnumbered by those simply looking for confirmation of the fairy tales they've been carefully conditioned to believe. The propagandists are also quite comfortable with the fact that they control the mainstream media apparatus, which of course is where most Americans get their news and information. Make no mistake about it, folks. In addition to illegal wars of aggression being perpetrated in our name half a world away, we are also being subjected to a full-scale, non-stop disinformation campaign right here at home, and far too many are still buying the lies. Alan J. Kuperman is billed by the New York Times as director of the Nuclear Proliferation Prevention Program at the University of Texas at Austin. He wrote an op-ed that the Times published on December 23rd titled, "There's Only One Way to Stop Iran." He says that one way is American airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. Kuperman says it's actually a good thing that Iran rejected a proposed nuclear deal under which they would have given most of their already low-enriched uranium to Russia in return for a 30-year supply of reactor fuel. He says it was a bad deal from the start because it didn't force them to stop their enrichment program and would have given them 20% enriched uranium, as opposed to the 3 or 4% they're able to do now, and also would have given them a head start to being able to enrich uranium to weapons grade, which is 90%. Iran was thus to be rewarded with much coveted reactor fuel despite violating international law. Iran has never been found in violation of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which allows them as a signatory to enrich for energy. Their defiance on the enrichment issue is a result of repeated threats of attack without just cause from Israel and their Beltway puppets. The threats themselves are violations of international law, but you never hear the media talking about that. Kuperman repeatedly refers to Iran's quote-unquote bomb program as if there's no question that they have one. In fact, there is no evidence that Iran is seeking a nuclear weapon. This has been the conclusion not only of the International Atomic Energy Agency, which has them under constant surveillance, but also our own intelligence community. And Kuperman's own words clearly contradict his bomb program assertion. Iran still wants reactor fuel. So he, Ahmadinejad, threatened to enrich uranium domestically to the 20% level. This is a bluff. Because even if Iran could further enrich its impure uranium, it lacks the capacity to fabricate that uranium into fuel elements. If they can't even get from their current 3 or 4% enrichment to 20% on their own, and they lack the capacity to fabricate uranium into fuel elements, as Kuperman claims, how are we supposed to believe that they would first be able to separate the uranium out from the reactor fuel they would have received under the proposed deal, and then further enrich that 20% uranium up to 90%? And how are we supposed to believe that they would be able to do this without the IAEA noticing? Again, we're told that Alan J. Kuperman is director of the Nuclear Proliferation Prevention Program at the University of Texas at Austin. If this man is truly concerned about preventing nuclear proliferation, why does he say nothing about the hundreds of undeclared nukes Israel already has, or the fact that they refuse to sign the NPT, or the fact that they refuse to allow inspections of their nuclear facilities, or the fact that the Obama administration has agreed to keep Israel's nukes secret, just as Richard Nixon did originally 40 years ago? Turn off your television. Do the homework. The truth is readily available to anyone who truly wants it, and no amount of naked Zionist propaganda will ever be able to change it.
They went to the university and they interviewed the professor. Do you think that this person can do such an act? Impossible. The way the plane took a turn, and I have personally spoken to senior pilots who have flown big Boeings and Airbuses for several years. They said it's impossible to take such a turn. And imagine just a new person of few hundred of us takes a turn. What the experts say, it has to be a military plane. Furthermore, information given by the government. Phone calls were there. Phone calls. Phone call said that they said the passenger in the plane, they claimed that they were hijacked. One of the phone calls was by a flight attendant. She says that buildings, water, my God. She's been flying for 12 years. Hasn't seen buildings in New York. Another person, he says, Mom, this is Mark Bingham. Mom, can you hear me? We have been hijacked. Do you believe? The question to be asked, if I'm going to speak to my mom, I will say Zakir. I'll not say I'm Zakir Naik speaking. He said I'm Mark Bingham. Mom, I'm Mark Bingham. If Mark has to speak to the mom, he will say I'm Mark. He will not say I'm Mark Bingham. He gives systematic proofs. Do you speak to your mother telling your surname? So all the proofs, all the phones were taped down, and then he did a survey that can the mobile phone work at 32,000 feet. When a survey was done at 4,000 feet, the chances of mobile working is 0.4%. At 8,000 feet, it is 0.1%. And 32,000 feet, it is 0.006%. 0.006. There's no chance. And the documentary says that today, USA is spending millions of dollars to reach mobile at that height. In 2001, they did it. Then there are many documentaries. Then the documentary says that there are black boxes. Every plane has got 2 black boxes. And the black boxes can withstand a temperature of 3,000 degrees centigrade for several hours. And in just 1,000 or 2,000 degrees, all the black boxes have been destroyed. He goes on systematically. And immediately, after a couple of weeks, Osama bin Laden, he gives an interview on the Ummah magazine. And he says that I am a Muslim, I will not lie. According to me, killing innocent women is prohibited, it is wrong. Killing innocent children is wrong. Killing any innocent human being is wrong, and Islam condemns it. Osama bin Laden giving an interview and saying that. A couple of days back you get a video clipping from Al Jazeera. Osama bin Laden training 9/11. Because 75 professors say it's an inside job, now they manipulate, and after 5 years they're showing on the television. Why? So here we realize everything, it was inside job. And these 75 professors, they have promised, by God, we will come to the bottom of it. Regarding the second attack at Pentagon. At Pentagon, when the airplane crashed, there was no scraping on the grass. Nothing. Only a hole in the Pentagon. And the hole was only equal to the body of the plane. And we see a crater, and they showed on the television. But when the wings went, the wings weren't seen outside. Neither were the window panes damaged of the Pentagon. If a plane body goes in and the wing stays out, either the wing will remain outside or the window pane will damage. The building was intact. So how could only in the circumference of a body of a plane, how can the wings go in as well as the tail? I mean, it's fabricated. The people who said that, the plane went just 40 feet above my head. Today science tells us that if Boeing is flying at 40 feet above your head, that car will fly away. An interview was taken of ex-military person. He said it sounded like a missile. It had to be a missile. The missile would make that hole. And there was no debris. There was debris, only a little bit debris. There was no part of the plane found there. There was only a small engine of a fighter plane found there. Even in the other place, they only find a crater. Time doesn't permit me. The amount of ample of evidence given there, even a fool will know that this was an inside job. But it doesn't convince George Bush. And what they say, the reason is only to attack Afghanistan, Iraq, and then Iran. They have been predicting that Iran is going to be attacked. They want to have control of the oil-rich countries. So this terrorist attack is for what? One is injustice. Second is for money. It's for power. And many politicians find that he's going to lose the vote. He creates a fear psychosis. Okay, you better elect me or the Muslims will get you, and they elected. So what we realized that this was nothing but an inside job. And there are several tapes, several VCDs available, 9/11, loose change, then Fahrenheit, many. And if you see all this, it is a blatant, open secret that this attack on the Twin Towers was done by George Bush himself.